So this is my second book. This is week 2 of reading. This week I finished reading The Little Book of Ikigai by Ken Mogi. So Ken Mogi is a neuroscientist that lives in Tokyo. And this book is basically about Ikigai. Ikigai's become a little bit more popular these days. It's a Japanese mindset to way of life. And I've just got a few spots in here that I'm going to read. So this is the definition of Ikigai according to Ken Mogi. Ikigai is a Japanese word for describing the pleasures and meaning of life. Okay, so that's what Ikigai is, as defined by Ken Mogi. He uses 5 pillars of Ikigai in this book to describe all aspects of Ikigai when he's working through it. The first pillar is starting small, so just focusing on small details in life. The pillar 2 is releasing yourself, and that's a little bit more about not focusing so much on yourself and freeing yourself from ego almost. And the third is harmony and sustainability, and that has a lot to do with the environment and the group dynamics around you. The joy of little things is pretty self-evident, and being in the here and now. So he talks quite a lot about the state and flow. He uses some really interesting examples about sushi chefs in Japan. So the famous Michelin chef Jiro. He also talks about sumo wrestlers, and particularly the sumo wrestlers who can't reach the grand champion rank of Yokozuna. He talks about the ones even further down. So there's Sekitori's the highest level of professional sumo, and then he talks a lot about the guys who are the lower levels, so the guys who are doing all the chores and the sumo stables and these sorts of things. So it's quite interesting. He goes on to talk about the Ecs Shrine for a little bit, which I think is quite interesting. So the Ecs Shrine is a Shinto shrine that has 2 locations, and every 20 years it's completely disassembled and rebuilt, and that's to pass on carpentry techniques and to spread the knowledge, I guess, of the Shinto religion within a whole community of people that are organized around the rebuilding and disassembling of a shrine. So I thought that was really interesting. The mentality of the book is pretty cool. I think it's quite special when you look at some of the case studies he speaks about in the book about Tokyo. So Tokyo in 1923 was completely destroyed by the Great Kanto earthquake. So it was just gone. And then again in 1945 it was carpet bombed during the war. So that was completely gone again. And if you have a look at what Tokyo looks like now, it's pretty mind-blowing to think that it got completely destroyed almost 22 years apart. It was completely leveled and it was non-existent. And that's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting to see a sort of insight into the mindset of people who can just rebuild like that. So I think that's pretty cool. I learned quite a bit about Ikigai. I found it quite interesting, even though I've lived in Japan for quite a long time. And it's pretty cool book. Just a little comment about things that have happened since I started reading the books. I've noticed that it's really chewing into my social media time, which is really good. So this is something that I didn't expect to happen, but you can't spend a lot of time scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or whatever your social media device is, purely because I've got the deadlines of reading the book. So that's something interesting that's come out of me reading the book so far. Now I'm going to read a little bit of an extract. Some of you might not be interested in it, so I guess skip the video, I'll stop here, but I'm going to read a little bit of an extract. It's probably going to be about a minute worth. So I thought it was pretty interesting with my receipt bookmarks. People tend to assume that there are some necessary conditions for happiness. In the hypothetical formula for happiness, one needs to possess, or to have access to, several different elements such as education, employment, a marital partner, and money. In fact, scientific research suggests that there are few elements in human life which are absolutely necessary for someone to become happy. For example, contrary to popular belief, having a lot of money does not lead to happiness. You certainly need enough to live comfortably, but beyond that, money cannot buy happiness. Having children does not necessarily lead to more happiness. Marriage, social status, academic success, Those elements of life which are regarded as necessary to advance one's happiness, actually have very little to do with happiness per se. Researchers have been investigating a phenomenon called focusing illusion. People tend to regard certain things in life as necessary for happiness, while in fact they aren't. The term focusing illusion comes from the idea that you can be focused on a particular aspect of life so much so that you can believe your whole happiness depends on it. Some have the focusing illusion on, say, marriage as a prerequisite condition for happiness. In that case, they will feel unhappy so long as they remain single. Some will complain that they cannot be happy because they don't have enough money, while others will be convinced that they are unhappy because they don't have the proper job. In having a focusing illusion, you can create your own reason for feeling unhappy. If unhappiness is a vacuum in which the required element is absent, that vacuum is created by the biased imagination of the subject. There is no absolute formula for happiness. Each unique condition of life can serve as a foundation for happiness in its own unique way. You can be happy when married with children. You can be happy married without children. You can be happy when you are single, without a college degree, or with one. You can be happy when you are slim. You can be happy when you're overweight. You can be happy when living in a warm climate, such as California. You can be happy when living in Montana, where you have severe winter conditions. As a sumo wrestler, you can be happy when you make it to Yokozuna, or you can be happy while remaining one of the underdogs all your career, doing small chores, never giving up. In a nutshell, in order to be happy, you need to accept yourself. Accepting yourself is one of the most important and difficult tasks we face in our lives. Indeed, accepting oneself is one of the easiest, simplest, and most rewarding things you could do for yourself. A low-budget, maintenance-free formula for being happy. Check it out, it's pretty good.